Welcome to Viata's Tiny House Village. And in just 1 minute, we'll be going live in the Blog Talk Radio studio. So I want to introduce you to my tiny house village. So, welcome everybody to the village, and we're live in Blog Talk Radio. It's always a, just an exciting gratitude moment when Blog Talk is live because they have had many problems, but they're working. Prayer works, telepathic energy works. We do everything like we can here in the Beatas Village to get things working smoothly and harmoniously. So, welcome to Blog Talk Radio, and let's say hello to our global family.
Blog Talk Radio. Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution. Join me, Naima Latif, every morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, as we bring you stimulating discussions about the issues affecting our lives. If you're listening online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution, press the blue button that says follow and get our daily topics every morning directly to your email and your smartphone. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, Executive Producer of the Female Solution Radio Show. We invite you to call in 515-605-9325 and participate in this daily think tank as we examine the challenges we face and develop solutions that restore peace and harmony. We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Здравствуйте. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Yes. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. And I've got the best tonight. I've got my sisters from Female Solution joining me tonight to talk about a very important subject. And it really, I was reminded of a year ago. It was a year ago, we witnessed in the Middle East the start of a major conflict between Gaza Palestinians and Israel Zionist mafia. And we have witnessed so much suffering. If you've been paying attention, some people went and they said they weren't going to witness all this, but I've been witnessing it all because TikTok and Facebook, YouTube have been broadcasting all the death and suffering in the Middle East. And I learned something very important, that that culture handles death very differently than the United States, the Western world. When you see death like that every day, suffering like that every day, they have such a belief, and I would say religious belief, Allah Akbar, Allah, Allah, and they have such a strong belief in the purpose of death and suffering that I learned so much from those beautiful souls in the Middle East, that I'm so grateful that tonight we're going to talk about third dimensional responses and reactions to war and violence and death and all that, versus fourth and fifth dimensional responses, which says, okay, there's another life after this. So our topic tonight is all about Afterlife Cafe with the Female Solution host. But before we do that, we got to invite our ancestors as usual. So I always present Becca Shea, who is this beautiful Christian artist. We welcome Christians here. Yes, we do. And we love her drumming. This video, this music is just so full of energy to say welcome ancestors more than anything. So let's bring out your drums and let's welcome Becca Shea and her family of Native singers and drummers to welcome our ancestors.
And hair's blood has ransomed people for God. From every tribe and language, people, every nation. Where warriors are falling, there's a resurrection coming. It's your time to rise and shine. Wake up, you sleeping giant. The wounds of injustice are being healed by the peace of Yahweh. It's bringing us power through unity. Where warriors are falling, there's a resurrection coming. Dry bones come alive. Yeah, wake up, you sleeping giant. Your heartbeat, I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. We cry. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. Together we cry. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. We cry. Out, out. Your heartbeat. Your heartbeat. Oh, your heartbeat. This is the hour to know whose side to stand by. Raise up a standard in battle for every fellow tribe. Our warriors are fighting, there's a revival igniting. Search for such a time. Yeah, arise, you blazing fire. Brave, stand firm and listen to your destiny. The rhythm of our Father moves with victory. Where warriors are fighting, there's a revival igniting. So my soul God, and arise, blazing fire. Your heartbeat, I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. Yeah, I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel your heartbeat. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. We cry. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. Together we cry. Yes, you are. Bring us together. Bring us together. We cry. Out, out. Your heartbeat. Your heartbeat. Oh, your heartbeat. Yeah. cry out for your heartbeat, oh. If you're happy, yes you are. Bring us together, bring us together. We cry, yes you are. Bring us together, bring us together. Together we cry, yes you are. Bring us together, bring us together. We cry out for your heartbeat, oh. If you're happy.
Hey, 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 hallelujah, hallelujah. Ooh, I just love the energy of that video, the energy of those people, bringing in our native culture. I think that's one of the biggest solutions of this time we're in of confusion and division is for us to go back to the original inhabitants' culture and fine tune it with the food. We don't have to kill bisons all over the place, but we need to maybe eat some bison every now and then just to remember who our ancestors were and what they did. But I'm just so excited about developing and bringing out more of our Native American culture because we had that stolen from us. Oh, so many of us. And I think just about every American probably's got some Native in them. I don't care how pale you are. My relatives were very pale, but they had a lot of Native American background. So I don't care if from pale to dark brown, we got Native Americans in us. So thank you, Becca Shea. Thank you, Becca Shea. So tonight we're talking about Afterlife Cafe. We're sitting down with the sisters of the Female Solution, Naima Latif, Deborah Smith, and Zelda Robinson, my sister from another mother. And we're going to share our experiences with the present experiences of death and afterlife and the suffering that we've been through, all of it. We're going to talk about all of it. And each one of us are going to share how we have dealt with, how we're dealing with the departure of souls from the body who we've lived with for a long time, no time. It's just, and especially my sister Zelda, she has said goodbye to so many friends this year. I think she's winning the race or the list of people who had the most friends leave the planet this year. I'm gonna say Zelda, she's number one. And I went through one. She and I had a mutual contact that we were trying to keep on the planet. And divine order said no, she has to go. And so tonight, our intention, our desire for everyone watching is to help you have peace about departures in your life from the body. Our desire and intention is to share what we have done to overcome the grief, overcome the sadness, overcome the suffering from having instant deaths come in our life, and then even the chronic and the acute sufferings. We want to help you tonight rise above the grief and the low frequency and the fear. Even we want to help you rise above the fear of saying goodbye to loved ones who leave their body. I decided several years ago, when my sister passed on and my niece passed on, I decided several years ago that my two young men that I birthed into this world were now my spiritual partners. They're not my sons anymore. Even though people like to say your son, this son, my baby, my honey, my sweetie. Nah, I had to detach from that because I saw my sister, who was so attached to her daughter, suffer and pass on right soon after her daughter because she couldn't say, I'm your partner now, or that was my partner. And we had a mission, we had a purpose, we have a sole purpose. That's what this show is all about. Coming into the full understanding of our soul purpose in every relationship, whether it's your dog, your cat, your husband, your father. What is our soul purpose? And I found this great video of a brother. And in fact, I'm going to play this first before I bring the ladies on, because we're waiting for Zelda. I don't see Zelda, and I want to bring all the ladies on at once. But I'm going to play this. It's only about seven minutes. And this brother looked like my first boyfriend, I have to admit. I was like, ooh, this is Sam. Sam? Is that Sam? No. But I was shocked to see a brother talking about spiritual things, because I don't see many dark-skinned men talking about spiritual things. So I'm going to play this first, and then we're going to jump into the discussion. After this, I'll bring on the sisters after this, and hopefully Zelda will be joining us at that time. The video is, do we choose our parents, and why do souls choose hard lives? Now, I was like, whoa, who said that? And it's such a short video. And then we have more videos to share with you about people talking about after death or near-death experiences. But I just got to share this brother, because he's good looking and he's bringing a powerful message that we all need to hear. So let's listen to him first, and then we're going to come back and bring in my sister.
Peace. Ali, coming back at you with another video. And in this video, I want to speak about why we choose our parents. So welcome back to the channel. My name is Ali. I teach self-guided realization and self-mastery. And with that, one of the popular notions, especially among spiritualists, metaphysicians, and occultists, is that we choose our parents, Now, I believe this notion was popularized by the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It explicitly describes how the soul is in the afterlife or before incarnating, going through and choosing parents that would be conducive for that soul in the incarnation. Simply put, looking at parents while they're copulating or having sex, and choosing a specific time to incarnate to get the best life for that particular soul. Also, the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, spoke about it as well. And on record, Edgar Cayce is probably the most recorded psychic as far as predictions and the things that he did as far as modern psychics. He's probably most documented. So those are two sources that, pretty much allude to the fact that we choose our parents before incarnating. Now, in my own personal life, I have 3 children, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, like why the lessons that I learned from each child, because the children are 6 years apart. So I know from the oldest to the youngest what lessons they came here to teach me. So when you choose your parents, you're not only choosing parents for your soul's growth, you're choosing parents for that parent's soul growth as well. Now, because most of you have parents that may be unconscious or may not be enlightened, they're not going to know any of this. But if you're watching this video, obviously you're on the path to mastery, on the spiritual path as one who is obtaining self-guided realization. So you probably accept the notion that we choose our parents, but you probably are in the dark as to why you choose your parents. So the first clue to let you know why you choose your parents is that Earth is a school. Many people accept this. Earth is a school. In schools, what do you have? What do you have? You have teachers and you have lessons. So your teacher is your parent. Your parent is your teacher. That's your first teachers. And the life lessons that you have are the class or the subjects that you're in. Instead of math, you're in the class of life. So the first clue to let you know why you choose your parents is your parents are your first teacher, whether good, bad, or indifferent, and you're here to learn life lessons. That's the main reason why you choose your parents. Now, if you look at it from your ego human self, you'll be like, man, I wouldn't place myself in that type of situation. That's why I believe that you don't choose your parents based on your human ego. You're doing this devoid of your ego while you're in your soul self before you incarnate. Because if you had to wait until you were human to choose your parents, for one, you wouldn't be able to choose your parents. You're choosing your parents when you're in a soul, as the soul body. So regardless of if it's positive or negative, just using those terms loosely, you're going to place yourself in an environment that's conducive for your soul's evolution. So say that your soul needed to learn the lesson of forgiveness. You're going to pick parents that put a lot of anguish, anger, harm, damage, where you're forced to learn the lesson of forgiveness. It's hard to learn the lesson of forgiveness if you have no one to forgive. It's hard to learn the lesson of love if you don't have the lessons dealing with love. It's hard to learn the lessons of dealing with abuse if you don't experience abuse. So it might be painful when you look back and be like, man, I had a rough childhood. You know, you're not the only person that had a rough childhood. Every human, if they look back as when they're an adult, they can look back and see that, damn, that was kind of harsh. Or damn, I shouldn't have went through that. Or they shouldn't have done this. That's a victim mentality. You know, I don't care what trauma you experience. When you look back and you have a victim mentality, you're always going to see that you didn't deserve it. But if there's no accidents in the universe, if the universe is very much an order, it has order in the universe, then there's no way that it was a mistake that you experienced whatever you experienced. The greater the pain, the greater the lesson, the greater the reward. In fact, when you look at most celebrities, especially like athletes, that's probably what I got the most experience with. When you look at most athletes, they'll tell you that their childhood was rough. You know, like, I can't think of some names, but it's a lot of basketball players who would be like, man, my childhood was horrible. My home environment was terrible. So I used to be at the park dribbling a basketball and honing my skills. They were forced to exercise their gift because they didn't want to deal with their household environment. You know, many celebrities, many famous people, many successful people, they had rough childhoods. You know, on the flip side of that, people that had pretty much ideal lifestyles, they're usually a little bit more soft and they're less driven. It's the people that came from the mud who has that drive to get things done. So my point is, the greater the challenge, the greater the lesson, the greater the reward. So what I recommend is that you sit down in a quiet place, pen and pad, and write down some of the pain that you experienced as a child. Write down some of the pains you had. Was it abuse? Did you deal with a lot of drug addiction?
So I'm gonna pause that and welcome my sisters, because I just had to play that again. He looks like my old boyfriend. I said, "Ooh, what he got to say." And I loved his message of being a victim and teachers, why we choose our parents, because we need good teachers, whether good or bad. So welcome, ladies. Thank you for joining me tonight. Woohoo!
Thank you.
Martha in the house. Woohoo! All right. We are, as I said earlier, our intention tonight, the four of us want to bring our audience some peace and some relief from all the division and trauma and drama. And we want to each share how we have overcome the deaths and the suffering and the challenges. My last funeral was with Naima and Zelda. We celebrated her mother's homegoing.
Yes, homegoing. Yes.
It was quite different from most funerals that you go to where there's a lot of crying, and there was some crying because the granddaughters, they love their grandma.
Yeah.
Miss her. But we want to help all of you listening tonight to come out of the grief as much as possible and get into the fourth dimensional, as the brother said, purpose and the lessons. That's what I loved about him. He talked about, you choose your parents because you came here to learn lessons, and everything we go through is about lessons. So Zelda, I'm gonna let you start because we know that you have said goodbye to a lot of friends this year. And as I said early in the show, I said I think Zelda takes the prize for saying goodbye to the most people.
Mm.
She can laugh a little about it, but Zelda, would you share with us what have you been going through emotionally, mentally, to have to say see you later to a lot of your friends?
Well, this is the first. I'm calling it a death diet. I don't know. That just came to me, and I'm just saying
Mm.
it.
Death diet.
And I say that because I have lost weight, and everybody's been telling
Wow.
me that, and I don't see it until I
Oh,
put my clothes on, and it's like I'm not on a diet because I eat all the things I shouldn't eat. So I know that's so. I'm saying it's a death diet because I'm shrinking on the outside, but
Mm.
I'm overflowing on the inside.
okay.
And it started 2 years ago with the transition. I'm still trying to get
The
the
language.
the language in my head,
Mm.
because I know from past experiences I've had so many traumatic transitions in my life that started 2 years ago when my best girlfriend of 60 plus years made her transition. Flew to Vegas to be with her because we knew she was on her way out the door. Get there, having dinner. On the way home from dinner, we get the call that she made her transition. So it's like, okay, and I'm all Miss Holy, and I hate to use the word holy, but I'm trying to be strong for her grandchildren who are there, who are just bawling. So they went inside the funeral home. I stayed outside the funeral home, and I'm bawling outside. I'm like, you are no help to them. You out here bawling yourself. Well, what that is teaching me, lessons I don't want to learn.
No, no.
Mm.
We have been taught so much to focus on this vessel. And I finally heard something that just clicked in my head that said, just like you go and rent a car
Mm.
at the end of the term, if it
You
was a weekend or a month long, however long it is, you've got to turn that car in. And you don't have any qualms about that, do you?
Wow,
Mm.
that's a good one.
And I was like, wow, okay. So it started with Deborah. And then another girlfriend passed. And then two of my Bidwiz partners passed. And then another Bidwiz partner passed. I just went to her funeral yesterday. But I was so glad to be at Naima's mom's celebration because it was just that, a celebration. There was very little crying. Well, there was, but I tried to ignore it because I'm trying to stay.
Yeah. Like you say, it's gonna be some people that they're just
Yeah,
expressing.
Emotional,
just kinda
more
let it out.
emotional.
And then Ray. I even got the names wrote down. Ray, Lamont, Cheryl, Deborah, Naima's mom, Linda Prophet. I go to Texas
Wow.
to spend a week with my girlfriend in September, knowing that she's not going to make it because she's at stage 4 and she's this big.
Wow.
But I wanted to give her hope, and she wanted me to come and be with her. So I did, took her to doctor's appointments and all that. Come back. I left one girlfriend here at Northwestern Hospital. I said, I'm only going to be gone a week. And I come back and I get back on Monday. She passed on Tuesday.
Wow.
I said, I don't know what's going on. I'm being tested here. Yes, I am being tested for the realization that this is just the vehicle. And we have been so conditioned since birth to be attached to this vehicle. We cannot close our eyes and get quiet to hear the still small voice. Because it only speaks in a whisper. It'll never be loud. And
Mhm.
if you don't pay attention to it, that's where the pain comes in at.
Mhm.
Right. Well, the grief, we all go through grief for many
Yes.
reasons, but it's the destroying grief that we have to be careful of.
What does that mean?
That's the grief
Elaborate.
that's tearing your soul away.
Oh, yeah.
That's making you lose the weight, maybe, or it's time for you to lose the weight. Who
Yeah,
knows?
well, I know that. Yeah.
But the destroying grief is what you spoke about with your sister, Viata.
Yes.
While she grieved so much, it destroyed her, and she crossed over. So it's that destroying grief that we have to be careful of. We can grieve, we can grieve the fact that a person is no longer physically here. They should still be here mentally, but maybe their physical body is not here. But
attachment.
That's like maybe they're out of town or something.
Yeah.
But it's the destroying grief that tears us up, that we have to learn how to manage and eliminate. And you have to start that now before that person leaves us. And think about what you're doing once you leave. So you have to teach others how to not have that destroying grief.
Like the man said in the video.
The body.
What's the lesson?
Exactly.
You can't share it if you haven't been through it.
Right. So you have to. We're our children's first teachers, and not necessarily our children that we birth, but we are educators, and that's what the Female Solution is here to provide solutions for those who are going through that destroying grief.
And
thank God it's not destroying at this point.
Something, Deborah and ladies, when you have destroying grief, like my friend whose father was sick for a long time, you taking care of them, he lost so much weight, and it's hard to gain the weight back because I think so many parts of his body got so weak from all that stress and all that heaviness and grief and not understanding, no purpose, victim. And now it's hard to gain that weight back because they're older. So that destroys so much, not just the physical, but mental.
Your heart.
Now, you were with your mom for how many years? Taking care of a woman in her 90s and then hundreds, and I've never seen anybody handle that better than you, my dear.
But
what were you really going through?
She glowed through the ceremony. I was like, if this is not angelic behavior, I don't know what is.
Yes. And lots of families can't handle that.
Right.
Well, I've had practice, and also I went through a life-changing experience when my husband transitioned. And that was another situation where I was a caregiver. He had been diagnosed with cancer in, I think it was 2005, and late in 2005, I believe. And then they gave him like a year to live. But we're like, okay, you're not going to tell us when somebody can leave this world. We're going to beat this. So, my husband, he was in the health, eating and all that. We were doing the wheatgrass and all the other kind of.
Oh boy, yeah. Yep. That was my sister.
Stuff, all of that. But there was a point where we realized this was going to take him out. He'd lost too much weight. His body was too weak. And at one point he said, I'm just tired. And I said, I'm being selfish keeping you here because you're but it is a grueling thing when you're a caregiver, because what we were trying to do, we prolonged chemo for as long as we could, because we know that's a very weakening treatment, and we were going to do the health and holistic healing kinds of methods, but at some point, the doctor said, okay, we really got to do something because his body's got to be able to fight this. So once we decided to do the chemo, the effect of it was that in order for him not to be in pain or discomfort, he had to eat a meal every 2 hours. Small meal. So, every 2 hours, I got to be up round the clock, it's starting at 4 a.m., then 6 a.m., then 8 a.m., then 10 a.m., then 12 noon, then 2 p.m., then 4 p.m., then 6 p.m., then 8 p.m., then 10 p.m. Then, it was like around the clock. So I didn't get any sleep. And so I can see how that can really wear on a person, because you got to be there for that person to keep them from feeling discomfort as much as possible. But one thing about it, we talked because we had that spiritual bond. We talked about it. We were able to discuss, what do you think is going to happen when you get there? And so I'm like, well, look, when you get there, tell me how it is. Come figure out how to come back and tell me, So we had this look at it like an adventure. You're like going where no one has gone before, like a start.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, so the way we looked at it was different. And so even though when you're taking care of a person and when you realize it's terminal, you do start grieving before they leave. So the grief actually starts at the moment when you accept the fact that this is going to be their end. And you start grieving at that point. And we would sit and listen to music and we talk about things, and he was kind of giving me instructions. Okay, this is what I want. This is the things that you need to finish, projects we've been working on. You made a list of all of his possessions. Okay, I want you to give this to the person, this person to that, so we did all the things in preparation. The weekend before his transition, we wrote out we designed his obituary and the whole program. Okay, this person's going to do this person's going to do that. This is the photos I want in the program. So we did all that. So we literally had everything done by the Friday before his transition. He transitioned on a Sunday. By that Friday, he really had he was losing his voice. So the last thing I did was to get him to, give me the instructions on who he wanted to speak at his funeral and all of that. So we had the whole thing planned. And then Sunday, I knew it was going to be I knew he was going to leave that weekend. And so my daughter, she was at college at Loyola. I told her to come home for the weekend. I think it's going to be her father's last, and she came. She was cool, but of course, you saw my daughter. She's cool, but of course, she's a human being like everybody else. And she was there, so that Sunday morning, I'm holding his hand in his last moments and feeling his pulse slow down. We're in bed because he didn't want to, be in a hospital and all that. He wanted to be at home. So I'm holding his hand, and I heard him breathe his last and felt his pulse slow down. And I had this kind of spiritual experience right before then. It was like a dream, but it wasn't. It was like we met in another dimension, and he gave me a hug. You know how you hug somebody before you get ready to leave? So it was like that. We were standing there hugging each other, and then that's when I awoke and felt the pulse leaving and everything. So I mean, the whole thing was a very deeply spiritual experience. I mean, I was reciting verses from the Holy Quran and all of that. All of that. So I mean, we did all of the spiritual things up to the very last. And
yeah, we've got Jody with us tonight.
Oh, really? Hi.
I want to read some of her comments, and then when we come back for after her comments, you can each comment on her comments. But what about when it's an acute death, like you didn't expect it? That as I heard you talking,
that's hard.
That's kind of the grace of the universe to give you all that time to
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful thing in a way, because you're not shocked into all of a sudden they're gone. And that's what happened to myself.
Yeah, that's what causes really a hard grief, because you're thinking, I didn't tell them I love them. I didn't say this, or if you had an argument and then they pass,
So Jody's complimenting tonight. She says, "Wow, Naima, you look really grand." Of course, she does.
Yes, she does.
And
the lighting style, that's what it is.
she said there is another wave of loss coming soon. So that just reminds us that we got to be prepared. That's what we hope this show will do for all of you. More to come with that. Thank you, Jody. And she says, brilliant analogy. I think she was talking about Zelda, how you describe
the car. Yeah, and that is a good one, because that's really what it's like. I mean, this is just a vehicle. Right. And you want to give it back, and that's if you know that your whole life, then it's not as hard dealing with people when they transition. But I think what's difficult is when it's a young person, because everybody presumes that a full life is a long life, and that's not necessarily so.
No.
Right. And then Jody says that she gave us an amen. Ashe.
Yeah.
Says, you may have been carrying the traumas and pain for others. They die, you lose the pounds. That's
wow.
Yeah. Especially if you were taking care of them.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is true. When you're a caregiver, you're kind of taking on that energy of them, and
Wow, yeah, I didn't think about that.
losing the weight. Yeah.
And you have to ask and pray for patience when you're a caregiver.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to be so patient.
Yeah, because the person who's ill, they're not always the most pleasant thing in the world, because they're going through
Got
pain.
that right. You hit that nail on the head.
They're
Yes,
not-
you
You
did.
have to be.
Yeah.
I think more than anything, when my sister was living with me with her breast disease, I was praying for strength because I was just getting so tired. I think all caregivers get so tired.
Awesome.
And if they don't get relief, if they don't have somebody coming in and tell them to take a break, then you're like, oh, help, give me strength. And I got the strength because I kept asking for it. Give me strength. Because I knew the lesson had to be learned and I needed to be aware of it, the lesson.
Right, because the lesson is compassion.
Strength.
Yeah.
You have to have more than strength. You have to have peace. And so, just
And you're absorbing the other people's energy that you're taking care of.
their trauma.
And that's hard to have
Fear,
that nail up
stress,
there.
anger, because sometimes they're angry that they're
Oh, yes.
passing, all
Mean.
that. Sadness.
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear, especially because I'm working hard to do juicing and salad, all this, and the fear is like, they can't die because I'm working too hard. And Jody says cancer and all disease is about unresolved emotions.
She hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
I've had
I
too many
think
people die in my family with cancer, and they all had traumatic emotional issues, and I could see it. I remember that. It's just as she's saying that.
And isn't that the biggest lesson for us observing people suffering is that they've got unresolved emotions? And
But they can fix that before they cross over. If they really wanted to, it can be fixed. You can heal your body.
You can.
Your body. I believe that.
But I saw it, the journey with my sister, I saw it as the Most High didn't need her to fix her unresolved emotion because I had to learn the lesson about her emotions that killed her.
Okay.
So even though we want them to fix those unresolved emotions so they can live longer and be here, but I saw it in the end. There's this gospel, there's this song, I surrender all to Jesus. I surrender. I was trying to get her to sing that song.
Yeah.
And I realized at the point when she was almost leaving, it was for me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you gotta sing this song. I surrender. And I was trying to say, if you just surrender, all your emotional conflicts are gonna go away and you're gonna live. And I realized at that point, she wasn't buying that at all.
Yeah. And it was you that needed to surrender your emotions.
Trying to control everything. And the most, and I think it's for you. It's like a little whisper. No, that song's meant for you.
And that's the thing, being able to accept that another person is leaving.
Yes.
That's at some point you have to be at peace with it and realize that this is their end. And like the brother was saying on the video, if your life is planned, then your ending is planned also.
Yes. Yes.
And, I mean, none of us are going to be here forever. So whenever that person is leaving, that's the plan. That was when it was their time to go. And we said, oh, they left too soon. Well, who decides when it's too soon?
Right.
You got to be ready.
Yes.
You don't want it, but you got to be ready. It's inevitable.
And Jody says, yes, you are absorbing people's energy. I have spent my life learning how to protect my energy and not absorb from others. Yeah, I may have to have Jody on the show again because her book is coming out.
Oh, yes.
And her book she talks about how to protect yourself from other people's energy. I took a class one weekend about that. And I was like, oh, I learned so much. Bubble, I'm putting them people in a bubble all day long. Yep. They gotta
bubble
go.
Here, bubble there, bubble here, bubble everywhere.
You don't realize how connected we are all day long. You're connected to everything in the universe. So when you walk into a room, you are absorbing the energy of the people in that room. If they've been cussing each other out or fighting, you absorbing all of that. And if you are going places around where people are angry all the time, it's going to affect you. You know, if you're in a workplace and everybody there hates their job, you're gonna absorb all of that resentment, energy, and you can come home tired. It's because of other people's energy. So it is important to realize it. So like when you're caring for a sick person, if they have a lot of anger, grief, fear, you're absorbing all of that. And a lot of times when people are suffering, you know, if they're transitioning as a result of an illness, sometimes there's a lot of guilt involved, and it's difficult to let go of emotions like guilt, because guilt is unforgiveness of oneself. So if you're holding on to beliefs that, you know, I'm a terrible person, I did wrong, I'm a sinner, you know, all that stuff, and you're thinking, oh, and I'm going to hell after I die, that's a lot of stress.
Didn't Jody give us an energy packet and we practice it all together one day?
I think so. It's been a couple of years, but yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And I haven't used it since, so I guess it's time to pull it out. Sorry about that, Jody, but I'm going to pull it out and practice it right about now. Oh, and by the way, I do have not a chapter, but what's it called? I wrote a piece for the book. How about that?
Oh, that's good. Yeah, we got to read that.
So
yeah, that's the thing. Your belief system about what's going to happen after you leave will affect your energy as well. And if you're sitting there with a lot of fear, it's you're projecting that. And so the person taking care of you, you know, how do they handle that? You know, especially
they feel it.
Yeah, they feel it.
We've got some callers, hands up in the studio. You ladies want to take some questions or comments?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, so we've got 434-996. Your mic is open. Welcome. Give us your name, where you're calling from.
My name's Khalil, and I'm calling from Charlottesville, Virginia.
Okay, Khalil, you said?
Yeah.
Oh,
welcome, Khalil. Welcome, Khalil from Virginia. What is your question or comment?
Does it have to be about this, or can it be about anything?
Well, we'd like to stay on the subject Afterlife Cafe talk, and that could be.
Okay. Sorry. I've had people like leave, not only like die, but also leave me. And I've had this song come into my mind, two of them called Good Grief, and then the other one called Happier by Bastille. I've had another song called the Blurry by Puddle of Mud. And these songs have happened after I've lost someone, or either they left me. And the two songs that keep coming to mind are Happier and Good Grief. And sometimes when I hear those songs, I break down crying because it has to do with like family members and counselors that I've left, that I've had to leave, or either people who have died in my family.
Wow, Khalil, you bring up, like, to me, the number one solution for grief and death is music. Because, ladies, I don't know, maybe you could share what kind of music has helped you get through and we probably have different types of music, but I know for me, any kind of music these days, especially George Benson, Al Jarreau, I just go into a whole nother zone. But thank you, Khalil. That's Good Grief. And there's like a double message in that Good Grief. Who was that by? Bastille?
Yeah, that's his name. He also did Happier too, which is another song that I have that deals with like people leaving and stuff.
Because we use that in a lot of ways. Good grief. I mean, good grief. And yet, look at that. Have a good grief.
Good grief, not destructive grief.
Thank you, Deborah. Not destructive grief, but a good grief. It reminds me of the scripture in, I think it's Psalms, that have good morning, MOURNING. And joy comes in the morning. RNING and morning, the other. So, ladies, do you have any music that you like to listen to help you?
Yes.
Definitely.
And water.
Yeah,
I love listening to Water. I got it on now. It runs 24/7. And that 432 hertz that Jody gave us, the frequency of love, that one, yes.
Yeah. But you know, there was a song when my husband was, you know, in his last month, this song by Miles Davis, Sketches of Spain. We used to listen to that whole thing, and that just kind of became the theme song of that period of my life. And then after my mother's transition, you know, and I was thinking of what song I was feeling like was kind of like the soundtrack of my life. And it's interesting, it's this song that came to mind, and it came out in 1965. And I was trying to figure out, why is this song appealing to me? And I think it's maybe because it symbolized, you know, like I was mentioning at her homegoing, I was the last one to leave home in terms of, you know, when I was going to go to school and everything. And I was at home with my mother the first 4 years of my life. And then when I turned 5, of course, I went away to kindergarten. And there was this song by the Mamas and the Papas called California Dreaming. And I remember that song playing when I got ready to go to school in the morning. I just, you know, that was on the radio. And somehow that reminded me of kindergarten when I left her to go to school. And that was the first time I had left my mother. And so now she's leaving me. So I think that's why that song came to mind. And so I'm playing that over and over and over again. And that song is kind of become to symbolize this period of my life while I'm kind of handling her transition. And I'm just playing that song, you know, walking down the street, playing that song, you know, all the leaves are brown and the sky.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Khalil. We got other callers. And if you, I'm going to mute you. And if you can put your hand down, press 1 again. And then if you want to make another comment later, press 1 again. Let me go to 336-350. Mama AZ, your mic is open. Mama AZ, are you there? Are you on mute? Okay, we'll come back to you. We got 773-808. Your mic is open.
Hello, this is Kofi.
Hi, Kofi. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You have
staying balanced.
You have a comment for us tonight?
Artist.
You got the 4 ladies of the Female Solution on.
Yes.
I've been here since the start.
Okay.
It's great. The female.
But you didn't say hi to us, Kofi.
Connects with the males.
Right. Yeah. You know, we on here. You didn't say hi to us.
I'm a music artist. Yep. We know. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay. Did you have a question or a comment for us?
I'm an Ethiopian, and I get my energy from the sun, which never dies.
Mm-hmm.
People die, but the sun never dies. And I do a lot of music on the sun. I got a song called Morning Sunrise. I get my energy from the sun. I was just preaching that today, which is the first Ethiopian Bible, which you ever saw on the scrolls in the pyramids. They had a sun, and then had those rays, and they would put their hands up, and it'll be those rays pointing to the mind, the heart, the body. You ever saw those hieroglyphics of the sun?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. If you're watching those type of videos, especially.
Okay.
Yeah. So what you're saying is we need to make sure people are in the sun when they're going through grieving or suffering or not responding to the death or person's leaving. Then in a healthy way, then the sun will help them, right?
Well, there is no death.
Right. We're going to talk about that. Yeah,
there is no death.
Right.
When we are born, we enter death. We enter a dark place. the sperm enters the ovaries with sparks, a light, and we come into this planet trying not to serve mankind, trying to get away from idols. So I look to the sun, which keeps me away from humanistic idols, religion, and everything, because the first religion of Ethiopian Kemetic was getting their energy and their inspiration from the sun, which grows everything on earth.
All right.
So
we've got another caller. So I think that was, thank you. I think music, we got a first reminder of music. Now the sun, that's the way we do it, is get out in the sun with music. How about that? That's one way to overcome.
Connect with the universe. Connect with the universe.
Connect with the universe.
Before you connect with anyone else.
Right.
And you'll be okay.
And I say connect, as Zelda knows, connect with those trees and nature. We got to connect.
Baby. That's the only thing that's saving my sanity right now.
Right.
I can honestly say that.
So we got 111. Your mic is open.
Yes. Thank you very much for taking my call. Indeed, my name is Michael, and until mankind doesn't learn that God is one, mankind is one, foundation of all the religions are one, we will have wars and rumors of wars as we are witnessing today. And these are the three minimum solutions that mankind can learn, but we could learn it from World War I. We did not learn it. We could learn it from World War II. We could learn it, but now we are almost on the brink of the World War III right now. So mankind, I don't know if are you agree with me? We don't have much time left on this planet. Please go ahead.
Well, you bring up a point of discussion, and I'll let the ladies respond as well. World War I, World War II, and here we are at the brink of World War III. Because I believe, and we can comment, we have something called the military-industrial complex. In my opinion, a bunch of Khazarian mafia psychopaths have been running the show. So we're now at a place of transition, I believe. I believe it's so chaotic now. Most people on this planet, after seeing October 7th and forward, most of us are damn tired of these wars. And we want to, and I think we're all doing whatever we can to bring peace. In fact, I should play that commercial. That we are sick of the wars, and because we've had these psychopaths running the military-industrial complex, and now you bring it out, we didn't learn the lessons. We weren't paying attention. So, ladies, what do you think about what he just said?
Well, it's interesting that he makes a point about all humanity being one. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this later, but with the near-death experiencers, everybody who has crossed over and come back, whether the hospital brought them back or they just, re-entered their body and everybody goes, oh, I thought they were dead. But, all of them come back with the teaching that we are all one energy. We are one entity. We are all interconnected. And sometimes it's hard for them to explain it in a way that people can understand because we're living in these separate bodies, but we're literally just one entity, just like your body is one body, but it's got all these different cells in it. We're all cells in the body of God, the energy of creation. All of us are a piece of it, and we're our own individual piece of it, but it's really all one system, one entity. And if we understood that, then we would treat each other better. So everybody's saying that when you leave here, what you do, you eventually merge back into the one. But you go through a life review where you see how well you learn the lesson about how to be loving, how to be kind, how to cooperate. Did you learn it or did you not learn it? Like you saying, we didn't learn it. That's why we keep making the same mistake.
That's right. So thank you, brother, for that major information about World War I, World War II, and we're one. Most important, you pointing out, like Naima said, it's not till some people have a near-death experience that they realize we're all one. So don't you think we're waking up to that more? The more suffering we have, the more division, the more chaos. People are waking up to the fact that we're all one. And then we got one more caller. Oh, we got to go back to mommy. Brother Kwame, Sunhorse, your mic is open.
Yes, good evening, Sister Zelda, Naima, my condolences. You,
and Deborah,
and
Deborah's here.
And Deborah.
Yay.
Okay, so to the fearsome foursome.
I like that.
But the last caller was speaking of World War. I had an elder that told us back in 2009, he said, you know, we talk about all of these wars and we're talking about peace, but until you stop the war that's going on inside of you, there can't be no peace outside of you.
That's true.
And the battle is in the self. And that's the part that we're looking, because I was on another before this talking with Black men's mental health. The part was the question was asked as Black men, how do you deal with being vulnerable? First, how do you deal with being present? You have to be present to be vulnerable. You can't be vulnerable if you're not present. And what is your presence? What do you know about yourself? Is there a war inside of you? That means there's a war outside of you. But if there's peace within you, then part of the enemy outside of you can't harm you. Therein lies the beginning of change. And so these are the tools in which we are looking at. And we're moving into this fifth and sixth dimensional energy and releasing those old ways, you know, as it says in their books. You know, you release being that child, you release being that, because there is greater in you that is greater that was in the Christ. And the greater that's in the creator that you believe in. You say you believe in a creator, but you won't allow yourself to create what it is that you want to see the world to be. Oh, a human being. What are you to become? What are you to become?
What are you being?
Right. You're being, but what do you become? Become. That will be for. There's a whole lot of unemployed ancestors. It's because we forget to call them forth again.
I call them every day, all day. Thanks to you, Baba Kwame.
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you.
And y'all have a great evening. I thank you for I went on YouTube and seen all four of you sitting there and I said, well, I put a message in the text and then I had to get off of YouTube and then come back because I can't have both of them on there.
Yeah, thank us. All right. Well, we're going to go back and see if Mama AZ's, her hand is still up, and see if her mic is ready. Mama AZ, your mic is open again. Are you there? I know she's out there in the tent in the wilderness somewhere. So
yeah, her internet is
sketchy, in and out.
So why don't we play a little bit about, let's get into the near-death experiences and what's going on after people leave here, because so much fear is around what happens after people leave their body. And so many people are afraid to leave their body, and they don't understand that, as Kufi said, there is no death, that it actually, the life continues. So we have this video that Naima shared with me that is for educational purposes only. It's a fair use that we're going to share a little bit of it because it's a long one, but we won't listen to the whole thing, just to get a sense of pre-birth experience, why life is so hard, and your life before information.
I want to just have can I just have a small, tiny bit of memory? And they said, yes, you can do that, but it will make the journey more difficult.
And there are so many of these on YouTube that
I'd like to welcome
you can find
Christian Sundberg. How you doing, Christian?
much more than
I'm great, sir. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. Thank you so much for doing this. We've been trying to get this going for a while now, and I'm so happy that we finally, our schedules matched, and we're here to talk about your fairly, somewhat unique, entertaining experiences of life. You've lived a boring life so far, apparently.
Boring lives on Earth.
Yes, that's very true. That's very, very true. So you have a unique point of view on your experience. I mean, we've had near-death experiences, we've had other out-of-body experiences, but you had a pre-birth experience, and you're the first person I've ever spoken to who's had a pre-birth experience. So can you explain to the audience what is a pre-birth experience?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So first, let me just say that, okay, first of all, I have to disclaim that there is no language to describe any of this. We're going to do our best. We're going to do our best, but the language of Earth is based on our local world and its assumptions, and our true nature transcends those assumptions. So
fair enough.
Assumptions like, linear time and discrete location, for instance, we're actually transcend this physical context. So I'll try to make comments, but I just have to disclaim that language vastly falls short. It's like as soon as we open our mouths, we're just inaccurate, Got it. So yeah, my body is 42 years old right now. Up until about the age of 5 or 6, I had some pre-birth memory. I remember choosing this life and coming to Earth. That memory left me completely between the ages of 6 and 30.
Before you continue, what was it like being a 4, 5, 6-year-old dealing with this kind of information? Because I barely remember what I was like at 4 or 5, but I know I didn't have the cognitive ability to deal with that kind of information. So how did you deal with it?
Yeah, it was very natural. It's the most natural thing in the world, actually. I remember being in a diaper and just barely being able to walk.
What?
And being aware of what I'll share today.
Okay.
It seemed very natural and normal. Nobody else talked about it. I mean, I knew we're not really from here. We're just coming to experience this place and have this human experience, and nobody else really talked about it. I didn't talk about it. It's just, I thought everybody knew.
Fair enough.
But nobody else talked about it. So at the age of,
at 6, you lost the memory. Do you remember losing this memory?
No. It's just kind of the more I became associated with the human character, the more deeply I became associated with form, with the story, with the objects, with the identity, the more distant it became until it was gone. And then I didn't remember it at all. I didn't even remember that I had remembered, up until the age of 30, when I took up a long-term meditation practice. And much to my surprise, first I began to have non-physical experiences after a few months of out-of-body experiences, very eye-opening, very worldview altering, very in your face, not subtle experiences. And at the same time, I began to have this, pre-birth memory return. And it was not strange. It was the most natural thing in the world. It was like there were leaves on the ground and somebody just blew the leaves off of the ground and there's the grass. You know what I mean? Like it was not strange, but it was so real, so much even more real than what I experienced day to day. And these memories both seem incredibly ancient and also like they're happening right now. Like they feel like they're millions of years ago, but they're also alive right in this moment. I don't know how to describe that. It's not like an earthly memory. And I shared it with a couple people and they seemed to say, oh, wow, that's pretty extraordinary. It didn't even occur to me that it was extraordinary. I didn't share it for 8 years or so because, I'm a working professional. It's not the kind of thing you talk about. It's just, you don't share about that kind of stuff.
It clears a room, doesn't it?
It clears the room pretty quick, Plus, and then anyway, so it's not going to be well received by various groups, including like maybe conservatively minded folks. And so I just didn't share it. But I felt compelled to share. And about 4 years ago, I just got this intuitive nudge, like the ground is fertile now. It's just like the ground is just fertile enough now that there is benefit to sharing this. So I shared with Mira Kelly, who happened to be Wayne Dyer's past life regressionist, so she was familiar with this content. And after I shared it, I thought, okay, I got it off my chest. I'll never have to talk about it again. but it took off. It became very well responded to. I met so many people that have had similar experiences. I've probably met 40 or so other pre-birth experiencers by now, so I'm definitely not alone. And what's really interesting is when those people are able to reach out to me and say, I have the same memory of the same place or the same experience pre-life. And I just think that's so amazing, because I can feel the vibrational distance between there and here. And if we can come all the way down here to the Earth experience and meet here on these topics and like make that connection, it's just so cool.
Let me speed up a little bit.
It's a really amazing, just areas of knowing, of experiential evolution. Really am, which is my awareness itself, consciousness itself, and less associated with the thinking and those firm identity thoughts that seem to make us up. That was first. And then once that was where I was, larger aspects of myself began to rise up all on their own. So for me, it actually was not shocking. It was the more normal thing. Yeah.
And when did you decide to come out of the closet, as they say, with this information? Because like you said, it clears a room.
Yeah, it does clear a room. No, I think about 4.5 years ago or so, I decided to share. I felt intuitively nudged to do it. And after I shared the first time, I remember going for a walk and feeling relieved that I'd shared it, but I also felt this energetic shift in the like branches. And I'm like, what is that? That's interesting. It's a very personal story, you know, and it's like, I'm a normal guy. I don't consider myself special in any way. And I live a normal, you know, relatively normal American human life.
Okay, so that's Christian Sundberg. And Naima, do you have any comments about, because you probably watched this and it's over an hour long. So this is something that we don't want to get involved too much because copyrights and all that, but it's pre-birth experience, why life is so hard in your life before incarnation by Christian Sundberg.
Yeah, well, and I definitely urge people to go to Next Level Soul and watch that interview. Now, what I found fascinating, first of all, he talked about before he you know, been a physical being at all, and when you're on the other side, it's just your essence that is there, your energy, you know. And so he describes how, you know, he saw a guy coming toward him and he could just feel the essence of this person was so powerful and so strong and wise. And he said, well, you know, what did you do to get that? Did it get your soul developed to that level? And he said, oh, I did some time on earth. And I had an experience where I've suffered from this long illness. And the way I faced that illness, it helped develop my soul like this. So he was like, oh, wow, I got to do this. I want to go to earth. You know, so he explains how he ended up having a life on earth and how he had several lives. And during one of those lives, during several of those lives, he found he had this extreme fear inside of him, and you know, there was one of his lives he had such fear that he just became this egotistical maniac where he was very cruel to people and hurt a lot of people. So he knew that he had to do something to face that fear that he had to become a better soul. And so, you know, he explains how when you get ready to you know, experience a life, everybody has a council of guides, you know, of advisors. And so when he told his friend he wanted to experience whatever it was the guy had experienced to develop his soul like that, he said, oh, go talk to your guides, and you know, they'll advise you on how to put together a life like this. So anyway, after he lived a few lives on earth and had this experience where he had been this really awful person, he wanted to come back and have a life that would help him become a better soul. And so he met with his guides and everything, and they were saying, okay, well, you know, if you're ready for this, we can show you a life that would be just the right life that would help you develop these qualities. And so he entered the womb of the mother, but he was saying it was just such a dense experience going all the way down to this very low frequency that Earth is. And he's inside the mother and he's going, no, I can't do this. No, I can't do this. This is too much. So he ended up fighting his way out of there, which of course then meant, you know, his spirit left her body, which means, of course, the fetus died, which meant she had a miscarriage. So I thought that was fascinating because women don't realize, you know, like a lot of women who had miscarriages think, oh, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? They don't realize it's just the baby changed their mind, you know. And a stillbirth is when they wait to the last minute to change their mind, all the way up to the day of birth. They change their mind. So, you know, for me, that explained a lot. Plus, it also helped me understand, even with this whole abortion question, you know, there are three people involved in that. There is the child who's chosen to be born. There's the mother who, you know, opened the door for the child to be born. And there's the father who planted the seed that allowed it to fertilize the egg, which, you know, gave the person who chose to be born the body to work with that they're going to live in. So you got three people making a decision, and the father really can't, once he's planted that seed, he really can't make a decision, because his decision is done when he does that. The mother, she might decide, you know, I don't want to carry this to term. I'm not ready to have a baby. I'm not ready to be a mother. But the child can decide, I'm not ready to be born. And that's what a miscarriage is, when the child changes their mind, or they decide, no, I'm not ready for this life. So I think that interesting.
There's also something called a death doula, who ushers in. A death doula is instead of ushering in life, they're helping people leave, including babies. I've seen where they've counseled women, like you said, who decided to leave in a miscarriage.
Yeah. And
so the doula helps the woman to accept the divine intervention. And that could also be a lesson that person need to have. My sister had a stillbirth. Older sister who passed. She gave birth to a baby that was not breathing, and that was her first trauma, I believe. And part of it was her decision not to work with that child at the time that her contractions started. She was waiting for the father to show up and trying to hold back having the baby until the father showed up. And so she was going against the rhythm of birthing a child, and the baby was born not breathing. So that was her first trauma, which I realized when she had her child who lived to be 14, and then that child left. I realized that was PTSD again for her. And like you said, a miscarriage can be a divine purpose for everybody involved to learn a lesson. Like the brother said earlier, this is all about lessons. We're in the school of learning lessons.
Right.
At boot camp, as Mama AZ sometimes says.
Yeah. Life school, as Naima would say.
Yeah, life is a school. And we're all here. Every soul has free will. So even the child that's choosing to be born, they have the free will to choose the parents they want. They have the free will to decide, nah, these people ain't ready for me. Let me leave. I'm not ready to come. And so a lot of times women are holding guilt about miscarriages or stillbirths because they're thinking it's a punishment from God and all that. No, it's not. It's that person, you know, for whatever reason, the situation wasn't right for them. So they decided not to come. Now, what happens sometimes, I found out this and watching some other pre-birth memories or near-death experiences where they found out that matter of fact, I think Beata, you were mentioning one that you'd seen where the person they were really angry at the mother because she kept getting abortions, and this child had wanted to come so that it could help the mother, but the mother kept getting abortions, and so the child kept trying to come through the mother, and the mother kept, you know, not wanting to have the baby. But sometimes that same soul might come back even after they may have, you know, checked out the first time and said, no, I'm not ready. But then that same soul will come back into that same mother again and say, okay, now I'm ready. But maybe they didn't really intend to stay a long time, just long enough to have a certain impact on the mother's life, which is possibly what your sister's child did. That could have been that same soul. But their intention was just to have maybe 14 years of influencing the mother to teach her some lessons, and then their job was done and they were ready to go. But because she didn't have that kind of a teaching or understanding, she was blaming herself, and like you said, blaming herself the first time, blaming herself the second time. Too much, as opposed to seeing that this is a soul that had their own free will. The first time they weren't ready, the second time they didn't intend to stay a long time. That was their choice.
And I'm actually glad that reproductive rights is a topic of discussion and debate right now. At first I was like a little frustrated. Why do they keep talking about that? Like they're talking, and we know it's about Planned Parenthood, and I was getting frustrated. But I realized how many women are stuck in that belief that they don't have reproductive rights, that the government can take something away from you. And I'm on this Threads platform, and I had a woman who was trying to. In fact, oh my goodness. I saw what's her name? The singer, Beyonce. Beyonce said something that was so subtle in this speech that she made recently in Houston. She said, "Oh, I'm here as a mother, but I need you all to know that we need the freedom to control our bodies." And I wasn't really paying attention. I'm like, what did she just say? The freedom to control our bodies. Okay, so that's like the message about your reproductive rights are going to be stolen. And I'm so glad that this is continually coming before us, because we have a choice now to talk about life and choices, and not being afraid that somebody's going to take away your power or your rights. But I'm intent to empower women these days, and not be afraid that somebody's going to steal or take something away from you. Because
so how do you think it will affect that movement or even that idea if the thought were introduced and acknowledged that when you become pregnant, there are absolutely no accidental pregnancies? If you are pregnant, that is a choice that a soul made to come through you. They made a choice. So you can choose to circumvent their choice, but understand that it isn't just you or your body. That's a soul that chose you for a particular reason. Now, they may have chose you knowing that you're shaking about whether or not you were going to be their mother, were you really ready? And they took that chance. But they did make a choice. There are absolutely no accidental pregnancies. There are decisions that souls make to come through a certain person because they're trying to have a certain experience. And how do you think that understanding would affect this particular movement where women are talking about their reproductive rights and, worrying about not being able to get abortions and all of that? How do you think that would affect them understanding on a deeper level that this is a choice someone made for you to be their parent? How do you think that affect that?
This topic opens up discussions that we can have with women who are, what I say, unconscious. Because what you just said is all about consciousness. And we want to help women get to this level of consciousness. We want to help them stop battling in the third dimension. I got to fight the government. I got to fight for my rights to kill my baby. That's really what you're saying. And we want to get them to this level of saying, but you have the power, first of all, to know this baby, this pregnancy is a divine order for you to make a decision about your life that doesn't even have to include the government or any laws or anything. So I think it just opens us. We can start asking these unconscious women questions about their life. Why do you believe the government can take that reproductive right away from you?
Because somebody told them so. Huh? Because someone told them.
Exactly.
And you have the choice not to believe it.
Right. Exactly. So this is a great opportunity for us as Female Solution to bring a solution to their turmoil, to their confusion, to their fear, to their anguish. Oh my goodness, freedom to control our bodies is being taken away. It's like, no, it's not. Where did you get that thought? Let's talk about that. Where did that programming start?
You know, when Christian was talking, he said he was his own being until about the age of 6. And then he lost it. That's because at 6, typically now you're going into the school system.
Yeah.
Indoctrination.
And exactly. Now that you're being molded in someone else's opinion.
Yeah.
And that's overpowering. So you do lose it until you say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Let me get myself back together. Because this isn't right. And that's why so many people think so many things, because of how they were told, what they were taught, what was in their household, and what was embedded into their minds until they wake up.
Yeah. I had a 17-year-old young lady in my life, actually like 10 months ago, because she decided to keep the baby. But the pressure on her from the boy's mother to have an abortion was off the chain. It was like, she's a nurse. Her son was on some kind of drug for being ADHD. He was 18. She was 17. I had such a good lesson from all of that, because this young lady wanted that baby, but she was having pressure from the boy's mother to not have the baby, but she wanted the baby. But her mom and I were encouraging her to look at this as an opportunity for you to grow, for you to be a mother like you want to be, and we'll help you. We'll help you. And her mother went 110% helping her, and she has this beautiful little boy now, and then she found another boyfriend too. That helped. Got rid of the deadbeat dad. 18-year-old, what else? And so she has another boy, and it all turned out so beautifully, but there was a lot of pressure. So like you say, even after 6 years old, women have the wrong message coming to them about what's going on with their bodies. Even, the Native American tradition of letting your blood every month run into, I don't know if Kwame's still here, if he's familiar with that.
I've heard of that. That's I'm
open up with that. And that's just one practice. I told my granddaughter about that, and she was like, but Native women used to sit or squat during their period. What Kwame's mic is open. What'd you say?
It's called a moon lodge.
A moon lodge.
You're right. The woman's moon time. This is what the natives call it, the moon time. And in that part is that they're put into a lodge, and they're allowed to allow their blood to go back into the earth. We even did this when we do sweat lodges, that women can come into the lodge and sweat, but when they go and they're going to take out pads or tampons, we told them that you need to dig a hole, and you take those items, those napkins and things that you use, and you bury them back into the earth, because the earth needs your blood to return. It doesn't need to be flushed down and gone into a sewer or gone someplace else. It needs to go back into the earth. And even would be more dealing is that we used to tell women about cups, that you can catch a cup at your cycle time and you freeze it, and then you do a ritual that you take your blood on the full moon and you bury it at a tree root. And this is a form of ceremony and reconnecting the spiritual, because that's a life. That when that time comes, that egg is a life. It just did not get fertilized.
Isn't that what we used to do before we had plumbing?
Life that
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
We buried things. Yes, we did.
Yeah. So we have such a re-education.
Back into the earth.
Yeah, we have such a re-education to do for our young women as we learn these practices that have been forgotten. from our native ancestors, relatives, that make sense. They make more sense than buying all these pads and tampons and crazy stuff. But how do we get to that? How do we even transition to that with these young people who don't even want to try anything like that?
Well, most things that were
raising girls with grandmothers and aunties and mothers with knowledge of self and the power of her body. You teach that child, you add the lessons because they become adolescents when the cycle starts. You add the lessons of what your ritual is to do with that egg that passes through, because that egg was put in when she was in the womb. That egg was put in her body when she was in your womb.
Yeah, you'll be born with all the eggs you'll ever have. Yeah.
Bestowing to our generations.
Yeah, we have such a job to re-educate or educate the new generation if we want to get rid of these low self-esteem. I need the freedom to control. Well, if we were teaching what Kwame is talking about, and if we had been teaching our youth that, they wouldn't be talking about the freedom to control their bodies.
So I think one of the challenges that we have, on the one hand, you have the extreme religiosity that, Eve ate the apple or whatever, or gave the apple to Adam, and she calls women to be cursed forever, and everything sexual is sinful, and her blood is a curse, and all of that. So the monthly cycles are cursed. So you have that thought, which doesn't help you understand anything or even discuss your cycle, your body, your indications of your fertility. Like you've been saying, Beata, if women would just understand when their first fertility cycle is, that is their reproductive freedom. You already have power over your body. Just learn how it works. Stop thinking it's something shameful or forbidden or whatever it is. It's in your mind that keeps you from studying when you are fertile, so that you can make choices as to when you want to get pregnant and when you don't. It's a simple thing, and we keep not doing it. So there's that. And then there's also understanding that our bodies and the earth, we're all made of the same materials, the same substance, the same nutrients, all those things. So like what they say, ash to ashes, dust to dust, and everything. When you go back to the earth, your body feeds the earth what it needs, and it feeds the life forms that live in the earth. So we're not supposed to be sealed up in an iron box in the earth. We're supposed to let this vessel feed the earth and feed all the other life forms that feed on flesh, just like, for those flesh eaters, because we're all one system. We're all part of the same ecosystem. So our flesh feeds other life forms, just like we eat other life forms. And it's a cycle of life. So if you understand that, then you're going to understand perhaps, whether it's blood or flesh or whatever that's going into the earth, it's feeding nutrients that the earth needs, because the earth needs us, the things that we eat. So if it's a cycle, it's all science, but you can't be scientific when you're believing irrational religious teachings that won't even let you understand how your body functions.
Yeah. And that's, so this whole Afterlife Cafe we have here is about coming out of ignorance, because women especially are so ignorant about their bodies and what our native culture taught us and what we don't know now, and about the government. We have brought in the idea that we need a master of the government to do everything for us and so much more. Let me take a commercial break. And time gets away. And then Mama AZ has texted me. She wants to open her mic. So
okay.
we can take a commercial break, and then we'll come back.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV show invites you to an invigorating, empowering, interactive conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Gathering of the Griots with Asada. Wednesdays, Repairing Family Relationships with Naima and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Veggie Brunch Live with Angela. Fridays, Health and Well-Being with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Global Talks with Zana. Second Saturday, Walk in Your Divine Authority with Mama Joy. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. Fourth Saturday, be a judge on the virtual Teens, Tweens, and Tots Talent Contest. And fifth Saturday, join us on location as we conversate at the Elevate Cafe, owner Jackie Brooks. Sundays, join us 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Go to thefemalesolution.com to join us on our video or audio live streaming platforms. Listen at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in on the Blog Talk Radio Network 515-605-9325 or call in and comment on the On Air Radio Network 727-731-5192. We want to hear from you.
Have you ever wondered why some of the healthiest people still get sick? Or why the occurrence of learning disabilities like ADHD have drastically increased over the last 50 years? How is it that the cancer rate has gone from 1 in 8,000 back in the 1910s to 1 in 2 today? Isn't it odd that even though we are more focused on health than ever before, that there's still been an increase in diseases, disorders, illnesses, and other conditions that destroy your quality of life? What if we told you that the very things you're using in your home to avoid these health concerns are actually what's causing them? If you're the decision maker in your home, you know how overwhelming it can be to keep your family safe. Today, we'd like to welcome you and simply provide you with some important information and shed some light on some health concerns you may not be aware of. Over the last 100 years, thousands of toxic chemicals have been introduced into society because of an excessive overstock of chemicals designed for warfare in the Second World War.
So that message is all about we live in a toxic environment. The air is polluted, and we need to continually detox our body. I think that's for me, going forward. I'm every day doing lemon water in the morning. I'm doing intermittent fasting because I was outside walking today and it lines all over the sky. I'm like, okay, I'm protected. I'm not going to go into fear because I see lines in the sky, but we know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So that message is all about being aware that we live in such an environment where we have to take even better care of our body. So Mama AZ is taking really good care of herself out in camping out in a tent. Mama AZ, your mic is open. Are you there? Mama AZ, check your mic. Are you on mute? Okay, can you open? She said, can you open?
I think she's having connection issues.
All right. Okay, well, I'll leave your mic open if you want to join us. Just come on in. So, when we as we close or sum it up, tomorrow we want to remind everybody tomorrow that Zelda will be talking about observe without judgment. Is that right? The OWJ.
What's your OWJ score?
Okay, what's your OWJ score? Oh, so important.
Is it more important than your FICO score? What is it?
Observe without judgment. You know what I also found interesting, because I've been watching a lot of these near-death experience videos. Everybody who comes back says there's absolutely no judgment from God, no matter what. There's no judgment. What it is, Stop fearing what it is. You be the judge. You get to do a whole life review, and you see exactly what you did, but you also can see and feel from the other person's point of view exactly how you made them feel. So you see your whole life, and then you can see what kind of a person you were based on how you made people feel. But there is no judgment. There's total forgiveness, because our Creator already knows we don't know anything. I mean, you think about it. How cruel would that be? You're sending people here. You wipe their memory clean. They have no clue. They don't even remember that they chose to come here. They don't remember why they're here. And then you punish them for making mistakes. How mean is that? It doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't punish your child for making a mistake, and you knew they didn't know anything. You teach them. You help them understand.
You're calling me on my
There's a
phone.
movie like that too. I can't remember. It was probably more than one.
Shalom.
Yeah, where they discover with that what you just said, that their memory was wiped and they can't remember anything.
Yes. So that's really what this earth experience is. We planned it, but then we have to go through the process of forgetting everything so that we can actually do the thing we came to do. And then, and then what I also been hearing, like Viada's talking about, a time of awakening. In this life, a lot of souls have chosen to have an experience that helped them remember, because what we came here to do is volunteer to help raise the consciousness of the planet so we can stop these wars. So we have to remind people we're all one, like the caller said earlier, and every religion is teaching this. Everything is based on love, and the Creator is only love. There is no condemnation. There is no hell. So this is the time that many souls chose to be born so that they could help remind humanity, so that we could change, so that we could stop the fighting, so that we could come back to unity. And that's our purpose.
So when Zelda's gonna talk about judgment tomorrow, which is a great segue or a great continuation of us realizing how much we have to change, how much we need to awaken to, and realizing how it's affecting our lives today, all the suffering and death and all that. Is like one more step is judgment. Like, I'm glad to hear that when people have near-death experiences, they realize the Creator is not who they were taught in the church.
Yeah, this mean person waiting to cast you into hell. And that's what's so fascinating, is that they all say there is no hell. Now, there are some who had a hellish experience, but they realized they created that because they were expecting that. So now this is a thing that I found fascinating. When you get to the other side, thoughts create reality instantly. So that when you think something, it happens. So this is why you got to guard your thoughts. If you have an idea, if you're thinking, oh, demons are going to get me, it manifests because you're creating your thoughts. The energy of your thoughts is creating the reality. Now it happens here, but because we're in this very dense, slow, low vibrational experience, the creation process is so slow, and that gives you time to reflect. Just like if I want to pick up this cell phone, I got to go through a series of steps. I got to reach my hand over and grasp it and pick it up. Whereas in the other dimension, you want something, instantly you just have it. So that's another thing. When you leave this body, everything is just thought. So they all say that communication is telepathic. People just send you their thoughts and feelings. You don't have to speak it. But you also can't lie, because whatever a person really thinks, you hear it, you feel it, you know it instantly. So it's really fascinating, because they say we actually could do that, but we've lost the ability to do it. We've lost the capacity to send and receive our feelings, because this body is almost like a filter. So the ability to feel what another person's feelings are, we lose that. But we have the ability, if we would just regain that empathy where you can feel another person. And usually when you develop more spiritually, you can feel people, you can feel vibes, you can feel compassionate and empathy and understand what a person is feeling. But on the other side, when you leave here, you see exactly every single thing you did, and good and bad, and how you made people feel. And that's when you want to come back and fix it and do better next time.
And we want to encourage everyone to do your own homework, to do your research, because that's the only way I know that I became so convinced of a reality on the other side that is peaceful, that is not suffering, that is not hell. You know, all the books that I have on my shelf that I've read that brought me to such an awakening that death is not bad. It's not really bad at all. There is no death. Okay, there's no death. You know, you come to these stages of enlightenment and revelation the more you read, the more you study. But if you're thinking out there that you have to continue to believe like your parents believe, like the church told you to believe, then you're going to be afraid of death. You're going to not welcome that experience for your relatives and realize they're in peace and actually be grateful when people leave here, because that's better than when I think about all the people in the Middle East who have watched their loved ones leave and suffer and
violence. That's distressing.
Violence. They don't have the I gotta cry for a year and grieve my relatives. They're so focused on what we have to do to keep our land. So there's a thought for us here in the West. We need to maintain this land. When our relatives die, when our friends die, our focus should be, I got to maintain this land, this body that I'm in. I got to make sure it's healthy. I got to make sure it's strong, because I still have a purpose. Even though my dad died, my mom died, these people went on, they're now ancestors. I'm going to maintain this land. I'm going to fight for this land. I'm going to work for this land, just like our Palestinian brothers and sisters. They just want to go back. And when you listen to how they feel, the refugees, they just want to go back to their land.
And you know that's the I think somebody called earlier talking about, it might have been Baba Kwame, was talking about the energy that we put out. We don't realize that because we are all connected, our energy affects the environment. If we are full of anger, it literally is adding to the anger in the world. If we're at peace, if we're showing love, it's adding to the love in the world. So our inner state is affecting the environment. When you have places where the weather is really bad, you have a lot of people living in distress. That's creating that weather, that the hurricane, the tornadoes. So we really are all one. We're all part of the universe that we're living in. Our energy is affecting everything. When we know that, then we can choose to be at peace so that we can add to the peace. But if you're angry, you're arguing, you're name calling, you're judging, that's adding to the energy of war. So when you talk about non-judgment of people, judging means I think you're wrong, I think I'm better, I think you should be doing something else, I think you're going to hell, you know, all of that. Why would we think that we're supposed to judge people? Everybody is here on their own life purpose, their own life plan, and what somebody else is doing is for them. It's for their to learn their lesson. They don't need to be what I am doing what I'm doing.
What that's our war in ourselves. That's why it said we need to stop the wars within ourselves. That's our own insecurities about what someone else is doing and how we're not measuring up to what we think we should be doing, measured to them. That's a war. That's a conflict within ourselves. And war is not so fighting with weaponry. War is spiritual. The spiritual war within yourself. Please eliminate it. Just eliminate it. Just become at peace. Just look at the trees. Listen to the music. You know, it's so many portals that you can get relief from or through. Just stop. Just stop.
Right. And people, you're right. I mean, people get so upset. Oh, did you hear Donald Trump said so and so? Why are you listening? Look, you know who you're going to vote for. Just go ahead and vote for who you're voting for. You don't have to be saying the stuff that upsets you. Why are you allowing that? You know, why are you letting somebody disturb your peace when it's not necessary? Just
whatever gonna happen.
Yeah, the reason is they're watching CNN, MSNBC, ABC. They're watching the media, who we should know by now, their intent is to confuse, divide, and misinform.
Yeah.
Because they're not speaking the truth about abortion or how we can go back to the native way of having periods and watching the calendar and all that. So
it's the
people
politicians too. They putting out that disturbing message themselves as well. One's not telling the truth, the other one is avoiding the truth. It's just a going. You say have half a dozen in one hand and 6 in the other. What's the difference?
So what do you think is the major reason why women are or appear to be resistant to the idea of simply learning their bodies so that they only get pregnant when they intend to get pregnant? I mean,
not taught that in elementary
been
school.
taught.
We were not taught that in elementary school. We were not taught the basics. We were taught what they wanted, the mindset that they wanted us to adopt.
Exactly.
Not for our good, but for their good.
You know, and men should also learn the same thing. I mean, the thing about it, if every animal on the planet practices Planned Parenthood for real, they know to impregnate the female when the food supply is going to be plentiful when that child is born, so that the community can eat. Every species knows this.
Look at the Animal Channel, and they talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
Kingdom and all that. We the ones that's fighting. I mean, now they fight too, because they want control of making sure they get to the water and can hibernate and whatnot. But they know when to do what they have to do.
They know when not to and when to. And I don't understand why we have such an issue with sexuality and understanding that it's part of the cycle of life and you control it. You can consciously control when you have a child. You have to in nature, because you have to, you know, the seasons tell you the food is going to be plentiful at this time. So you have a child when the food is going to be there for them to eat, you know, and you only have enough children based on how much food is going to be there, based on the nature and how much the crops are growing. I mean,
look at the nature if we're living in an urban environment.
Yeah,
that's nature right in your own area. I mean, I was looking at the squirrels and going up the tree. They're storing inside of the tree, preparing for winter.
Yeah,
they're building their nest. They're not going inside the house. They're not going to come in here and deal with my heat. But they've got to live out there, and they've got to live through that winter or the summer, or even where Viati is, you know, look at the water that comes up from the ocean or the Gulf, and all the animals that are forced onto land because of the storms. They are just there to survive. They don't want to be there, but they're there. They got to survive, and they got to figure out how to survive.
So our new School of Peace has to teach all this to the youth, and unfortunately we're in competition with AI and technology, because technology is causing them to be lazy and not be in harmony with nature, because what we're talking about is having a mind that's in harmony with nature. Instead, they're being programmed in schools now that all you need is a tablet, and you need to make sure you know how to run TikTok and consumerism. So we have a job to re-educate our youth and even young women about how to live a prosperous, healthy, harmonious life with nature. And
you know what I believe? I believe that every soul knows its mission, and even though there might be people who have another agenda of trying to distort information or hide information or control people. I believe that when the soul hears what is true and what's coming from the Creator, that's what people are going to be drawn toward, because we know on a soul level that we're here on a mission to help guide this earth back to the higher consciousness that it's intending to exist in, where no negativity can exist. We know that as souls, that's why we're here. And I believe every soul that's coming into this earth right now, they know that this is the mission. So
like Christian said, it took him till he was in his 30s.
Yeah, to remember.
To come back.
Yeah.
That. So we got everybody who's in between there dictating what the other does or lives, and how do we stop those wars before, you know, we lose it all.
We have to keep being the reminders, keep giving the lessons, and keep practicing that consciousness of oneness. One of the near-death experience stories that I heard recently, this woman who was very religious, and then she died and, you know, crossed over and met God and saw all these other souls, and she was seeing souls that were homosexual and transgender and women who had abortions and, you know, people who did drugs. She saw all these people. She thought, well, what are they doing here? How is God? And she was shown that God loves everybody regardless of what choices you made in life. So there is no judgment. So back to what you're going to be talking about tomorrow, Zelda. If we understand that there is no judgment of you because you made errors, because you didn't know any better, then we can stop looking down on people. And instead of us condemning people, we can help teach them, help guide them, and be compassionate while they're going through the lesson that they're going through, because we know it's for their betterment. One of the things that Christian was saying about that soul of a person that he saw, he said that person got stronger because he went through a difficulty on earth. And that's what made him a better soul. As he said, well, I want to do that you did, you know, and be how you are. So people going through a difficulty, we might see it as bad, but it might be for their betterment, so they can develop strength and character and all these things that you develop when you overcome a challenge.
So I'm looking forward to tomorrow morning, Monday morning mindfulness, because I'm trying to come out of judgment myself. And I know that saying observe without judgment, everything, especially political stuff right now. Oh my goodness. Do I want to judge everybody on the left and the right, for that matter? Because it's like, how in the world would they? But it's all a good lesson. That's why I say this is the reproductive rights. Okay, this is a great opportunity to have some discussions. And we are so prepared here to have those discussions with women, enlightening discussions, informative discussions, to bring them out of their ignorance. It's all about ignorance. Racism, all those conversations, it's all about ignorance. Let's talk. How ignorant have you been, and do you want to stay in that ignorance?
Let's
have the solution.
Wrap it up. I'll let you all have the last word.
Well, you know, the reason why women even started having abortions is because fear of judgment. And there have been times in our history on this planet where a woman getting pregnant could be stoned to death or beat to death, be shamed and humiliated. So the answer to that was abortion. And this is what we're seeing now, women feeling like, I may need to get an abortion so that I don't get judged by society and shamed and made to suffer. So if we would get rid of judgment and treating women cruelly because they have a baby that they may have difficulty raising, then that's also a way to get rid of the whole abortion question. Just be kind to women, no matter what their situation is, if they get pregnant.
Yeah, a new sisterhood developing.
Yes. And remember, Google and what is it? AI is someone else's opinion.
That's right.
Yes, that's right. It's someone else's. Google's not an independent brain. Someone programmed it.
Somebody programmed it. So if you're going to solely rely on what they're saying, then understand you're living through someone else's opinion.
So do your research, brothers and sisters, and come up with your own firm belief
90 seconds
that this is the right way to go.
Yes.
So thank you, sisters, for this conversation, and we'll
Which
please
will
share,
continue tomorrow morning.
everyone share this show, and we'll see you in the morning.
7 a.m. sharp. Get ready to do some deep breathing.
That's right, and some meditation, beautiful meditation in the morning. So everybody have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.
60 seconds.
Start your day stress-free.
So today, if you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.
See you in the morning.
See you in the morning. And to all my yogi friends out there, namaste, sat nam, mwah, love you, and shalom. Have a wonderful evening and a beautiful week. See you soon.